David, it's been some week on and off the field, and getting to the playoff final and getting some new owners. Firstly, how happy are you with getting 2 clean sheets and getting through to the next round?
4 goals, 2 clean sheets, when I think we could have played better. If I'm honest, the first half, and what day was it? My days are away. Friday. First half on Friday. It's crazy, eh? It's been like that for months. The first half on Friday, I thought we were a wee bit nervous. We felt a wee bit nervous. But once Jamie comes up with a big goal for us, we kind of settled down. But the boys have got to take huge credit. 2 clean sheets, 4 goals, numerous chances created within the game. And to be fair, bar probably the Brian Graham chance late on it for Hull. We never really looked in a lot of danger in both games, albeit first half Friday night there, but I don't think Jerome had a lot to do. So, really pleased with the players.
Obviously, the last time Partick did come, they had no shots on target. They won 1-0. Did that make it a wee bit sort of harder trying to do that again and repeat that? But then,
I think the performance was there. Like the 1-0 game, we actually probably the game we played the best in. But the dynamics of the game, they were happy to sit in a low block to get the points. When you come into kind of knockout competition, always knew the dynamics of the game was going to change. So they get a wee bit fortunate in the league game with OG, don't they? Because that doesn't go in. They've got to come out and try and win the game, and by doing so, we probably win the game in all honesty. But they get that lucky OG. So I think I wasn't really reading too much into that because I knew the game was different. I knew the first game at Hull, they probably felt that they had to go and win the game. Which then the game opened up for us, and we dominated a lot of the ball, but we could also hit them on the counter. So we caught them on the transition a couple of times as well. So I was really pleased. But the performance overall of the last 3 games, I think we dominated more of the ball, more of the game in the actual last league game.
Obviously, Partick were a tough side to beat. They have been all season, but does that set up us nicely for County?
I think there's no pressure going into this game if you're a Livingston fan, a Livingston player. There'll be internal pressures from ourselves, but I think we're going into this as the underdogs. They're coming into Ross County, are coming into it as the favourites. And I don't envy the position they're in. I don't think sitting 11th, I wouldn't like to be going into these playoffs in kind of a negative environment in terms of you need to want to stay in the league, whereas for a Livingston player, staff, fans, I think we're going into it with a positive momentum, positive energy, because we've got the opportunity to be playing the Premier League next year. So I think there's a lot of external and probably internal pressure on the Premier League team, but again, they are the Premier League team. They'll be coming into this game as the favourites.
Obviously, we went up to Ross County and won in extra time before. How does that game have any relevance, or is it a positive mindset to go in that we've been there and done it?
I don't think our players lack any belief, so is it going to play a part in the game? Probably not. But if anything, the boys have known they've been up there and they've done it before now. Totally different kind of place, both teams. I think in around that time we kicked on a wee bit. It's probably when I look back to it, we lost games in between, but when I look back to that period, I look at it and go, do you know what, that group kind of took a wee kick, took a wee bounce together. So we're in a different place now as well in terms of, from that moment, I think there's been a lot of progression within certain players within the group, but there's also been a lot of progression as a group, where you could probably maybe flip that slightly. In Ross County, I think they were in a no bad runny form at that point, whereas I think that same now, they've no 1 in 8, but they've drew their last 2 type thing, or no 1 in 9 drew their last 2. So I think the 2 teams are in different places, so it's hard to go a wee back to that period and go, well, we can use that as a positive, or that was a negative within that game. We won the game, and I think that's really all you can say about it. We won the game, but it doesn't give you any divine right to go and win the next one.
Obviously, the title in the Championship got decided the last day, and the relegation for the Premiership, potentially for the playoffs, that got decided on the last day. Was there anything in your mind that it could have been any 3 teams at Johnstone, Dundee, Ross County?
Yeah, I had half an idea. It might have been Ross County. I kind of, if I'm being really honest, I felt St Johnstone had left ourselves too much to do. I felt Dundee with Doc had too much experience, but they would get it over the line. So I felt it was possibly going to be Ross County. But again, I'm not following the Premier League that closely. It could have been Dundee at one point. So kind of how it's finished isn't a million miles away from how I felt it was going to finish. Probably looking back 6 weeks ago. So I've always kind of had one eye on Dundee, Ross County and St Johnstone. They're the two that might have changed. They might have changed places, but I kind of felt it was going to be St Johnstone and Ross County are 11th and 12th, or vice versa.
Obviously we play Thursday then Monday, and it is a trip up to Dingwall, but is it a big ask for supporters to travel 4.5 hours up the road on a Thursday and Monday?
I think even it was a big ask asking them to put their hands in their pockets for Friday night's game. Like, we all know how difficult it's a cost of living is it now. Like, you've got your season ticket, but this was out with the season ticket game now. It's great getting to these games, but I think sometimes you can forget about there's an actual cost associated with being a fan at these games. So I'm sitting asking fans to turn up in their numbers, and you're kind of forgetting, like, it costs a lot of money for that to happen. Again, Ross County away on a Monday. It's not ideal. I think we could have left that in the Sunday fixture, if I'm honest. But Ross County on a Monday is not ideal. But all we can do is ask the fans, see if they can afford it, go for it. But see if you can't, let us just tune in and kind of will us on from your living room, so to speak. But we've travelled, funnily enough, over the years, we've actually travelled quite well to Ross County. I think they like a day out. So a Monday night's maybe a little bit different, maybe. But listen, it's the last game of the season. If you can afford it, please get up there. But it's also understandable if you can't, because you can't just expect fans to keep putting their hands in their pockets. I'm hoping Thursday night's game's going to be really busy. I'm kind of going against what I said there, but I'm hoping every single, like, you've got a lot of Rangers, Celtic, Hearts, Hibs, and I think stay in Livingston. You probably might look at that and say Livingston's kind of their home team, but it's maybe they know the team they follow on the Saturday. So a big plea to all these guys to try and get down, try and get into the stadium, try and fill the stadium. Let's get the South Stand opened up and let's get this game as busy as possible. What a huge game to be involved in. One that, I don't know, is this not what football's all about? It is for me. It is for me. Like, these one-off games, I know it's back to back, it's a huge game. Massive game, and it's kind of, I treat them as a one-off game, I treat them as the next game. But as a football fan, football manager, former football player, these are the games you want to be involved in.
I think you're right with what you're saying, Davey, but also if you ask fans, potentially some of the players, what's the best game to be involved in, and regularly it comes up, the playoff game, Partick, the playoff game.
Historically, Dundee United at Tannadice.
I was there as a fan, and it was, the most bonkers you've ever been, and it's probably one thing you're going, alright, it's one game of football, but it defines probably not just your season, but how you look at the club over the years.
Or how you feel, it's going to play an impact on your feelings, your emotions going forward. But I remember walking out, because I didn't expect that. It was the first game. We're up there, Tannadice, and I remember walking out the tunnel with Hoppy. Is it the shed end? Is that what they call it? The shed end?
It was behind the goals, wasn't it?
And it was full. And you're like, wow, because I don't think we'd done that ever. But we'd played up there probably 2-3 weeks before that. I think that was the last league game in the season. Ryan Hardy got injured. And it was nowhere near kind of that. We'd secured second place by that point. And then I remember walking out and I was like, wow. And I remember the goals. Josh Mullen scored that end. Scott Pittman scored that end. Do you know what I mean? I just remember the scenes. And it does, if you probably were to even that game, and the game probably at Firhill, Keegs' goal, that was probably a defining moment where I went, I think we're going to be in the Premier League next year. At no point did I give it a second thought. We were just out to win the next game, and then Keys scored, gave us a wee bit of a cushion, and I just remember thinking we're going to win the Premier League. But if you were sitting and asked me, the now defining games, they two definitely, 1,000,000%, they two definitely come into it. And to a certain degree, we pitched his first goal at Firhill against Partick Thistle there. Yeah. I know Danny scores, but I don't know, that first goal going in kind of ignites that fire, ignites that momentum, it gives you that energy. Do you know what I mean? But so, I think they're fantastic games to be involved in. I would love to have done it automatically, but it's in our hands. We've got an opportunity to go and be playing Premier League football next year. And I think the group of players I've got, and the staff, I think whatever happens, I think they can hold their head high and they'll say they've had a decent season. It can be a fantastic season, but I think the group of players and the staff in there can really hold their head high and approach these games with no nerves, no pressure, because you know what? All the pressure and all the nerves will be with Ross County.
Obviously, away from football, Dave, as I touched upon, there's the owners coming in. You've been saying that investments to happen in the football club. What does that mean for the club and the playing side of things?
I've been probably the last 3 years trying to entice that multi-club ownership model into the football club, because I genuinely believe for a club like Livingston, that's the way forward, being part of that food chain. I was involved in the talks. Calvin's came over. I don't know what, I went to bed. Once the deal was signed, I went to bed going, do you know what? The last 4 years have been difficult, really, really difficult for the people in the building, me, John and Dave especially. Worrying about finances, worrying about court cases, trying to keep the club afloat, trying to be creative, trying to be competitive on the park. It's been difficult. And I think you guys would all see that on a daily basis. But you went to your bed, so big defining moment was a court case in November, December time, where the club kind of came out that kind of ownership battle. And then Calvin coming in and John saying that's a deal done, Davey. And you know you've secured the future of the football club. The fans, really the football club's the fans, isn't it? So you've secured the future of the football club for the fans. However that may look, whether that's 6 months, 6 years, 26 years, I don't know. But you've secured the future of the football club and the fans within that, and you've also secured jobs for the staff that are in the building. And that was always one of my biggest worries. We came to the end of last season, we were really, really conscious that we didn't want to turn into a part-time or a part-time stroke full-time, a kid-on full-time club. Right. And me, John, the two Johns and Dave, we sat close season, we thought we were going to try and keep the club as close to the Premier League level as we can in terms of the staff around the place and the playing budget. Now, the playing budget obviously came down, but I think we've done that, and I think we've shown by doing that. I think it was the right call back then. If we never got investment in, we don't get back to the Premier League, I feel we maybe have been having different conversations in the summer, because you'll strip it all back and it's always going to come back to your fan base. If you've got 6,000 fans, life's a wee bit easier. We've got 1,000 fans, so I think it would be a difficult conversation this summer if we hadn't enticed someone like Calvin in, and secondly, if we weren't playing Premier League football. So I'm just delighted. I feel it's a huge weight off all our shoulders, John, the two Johns, Dave and myself. Massive weight being lifted off of us, and we now can look forward. I can now hopefully look forward to doing the job I've been brought in to do, to be the football manager. Dave can look forward to being the chief exec, and people can go and do their jobs, because the last 4 years has been really, really difficult. I came in yesterday, and this is probably one of the defining moments for me. Came in yesterday and there was an email, and I think it was Dave said to me, "Did you get the email?" I said, "No, I never got the email." So they're constituting the board, they're working behind the scenes upstairs. So I think that was the first time in about 8 years I was taking out an email chain for upstairs, and I was absolutely delighted. And I think Dave was shocked that he just assumed I was still in it. Right, okay. And do you know what? I came back downstairs and I was absolutely delighted that like, there's now people willing to roll their sleeves up to come in and help John and Dave, and upstairs is going to have a proper board with a proper skill set. The people with a little bit of money, money's not just the important thing, it's having that skill set in the building, having that business acumen in the building. And I remember coming back down the stairs, I was absolutely delighted that, and for the nicest possible reasons, I wasn't included in the email chain. So, because one of the things coming in, I spoke to Tony Bonner. Tony was kind of instrumental in bringing Calvin over, and I spoke to Tony and I said, I just want to concentrate on being a football manager. I want to run the football department. I don't want to be doing all these jobs that I've done historically over the years. And I was just delighted that was happening. I think when Dave realised I wasn't in the email chain, he was half delighted as well for me, but also that there was now a wee bit of leadership organising in board meetings in terms of, it's been John and Dave. Very, very hard for John and Dave to have a board meeting, so it was always me, John and Dave having informal meetings, if that makes sense. Now, email yesterday, I got to read it. It was brilliant, honestly. It was brilliant. It's just I don't know how to explain it, but for me it was brilliant just to see the kind of that. It seems like something very, very easy and something very, very innocent, but I actually think it was a big step for the football club.
Just back to the squad, Davey, is there any, you've spoke about a couple of niggles over the last 3-4 weeks, is clean? Still there. Still there.
It's a couple of boys, but to be fair, I don't think there's anything that's going to stop them. So we're probably at that stage where the boys that are carrying niggles or knocks they want to be involved. So they're training every day. They're probably in a bit of pain most days, but do you know what? Their mentality, their resilience, they're robust, and they want to do well for the football club. So I don't think there's anything that's going to stop them from being available on Thursday.
Full squad to pick for them?
Yeah, full squad to pick for, and probably the biggest thing I'll take into the next batch of games. I don't need to sub Jamie and I don't need to sub Robbie, because you're 2 subs down straight away, and it has an impact on what you can do elsewhere. Like Jamie Brandon, I thought Dan Finlayson done really well the last game Dan came on, but Dan and Tetty, Dan and Shins, whatever it is, were getting put in the park, and then you were left with 3 subs. So looking at the bench, it was really difficult to get maybe put players on that you wanted to get involved in the game because you've been forced into 2 early substitutions. So we're not going to be forced into these early substitutions, hopefully. So I'm looking forward to that, having a kind of full bench to pick from and not being forced to take individuals off the park to manage their suspension count.
Is that something that, because obviously they carry on into the playoffs, but it's not a league game, is that something that it's just an awkward one? I
have thought about it, and I think it makes sense for it to kind of be a reset. Now maybe you could argue the Premier League's got 38 games, we're 36 games, so 3rd and 4th playing each other could count, and then that would take both leagues up to 38 games, so that would probably be the fairer way of doing that. But when it came to the semi-final and the final, I think it needs looked at, because I think if you use 3rd or 4th as an example, it's a wee bit unfair on them.
Like I said, they're potentially playing a lot more games.
They're playing 4 more games, but the card count carries on, which I think is a wee bit unfair. So you could be going to the last game against the final to get promoted to the Premier League, but you're missing a couple of players. And I've found it difficult when we've only had 2 extra games. The 2 extra games coming up here. So it probably needs revisited and to a bit fairer in terms of the amount of games. So after match day 38, there's a reset, because that's maybe what should happen, because the Premier League club as well. So once you match day games, maybe then take it into, I don't know, 2 yellow cards or something like that within the 4 games. I don't know, but I think it needs looked at.